International soccer has come to a close once again, so it's back to the league games now for the next little bit. Now, 2 weeks ago when we covered our last video on European soccer, we went 2-0. That's bringing the record this season to 17-8 for these weekend European picks. Now, let's try to build off of that record this week with 4 parlays covering 11 different games, covering days from Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and all the way into Monday. Now, while you're listening, be sure to give me your best picks for this weekend, whether they're in these games or any other games or leagues. And if you're liking this information, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. It helps out a lot. This first parlay that I'm going to get into, it's going to be over Friday and Saturday. Starts in the Bundesliga with Cologne and Bayern Munich playing on Friday afternoon. Now, Bayern are still undefeated on the year. They're 9-2-0. They've scored 42. They've allowed just 9 goals, and they're 2 points back of Leverkusen for first. They do have Champions League next week, but not until Wednesday, and they've already qualified. So arguably, this could be the more important match anyways as they try to chase down Leverkusen. They face Cologne, who are 17th at 1-3-7, and they've been outscored 23-9 on the year. Cologne have tied their last 2 games, 1-1 with Bochum and Augsburg, but prior to that, they got routed 6-0 by Red Bull Leipzig. Now, Bayern, they didn't have it all their way last year when these teams played. They won 2-1 in Cologne, and they drew 1-1 in Munich. But they're still 16-2-0 undefeated versus the Billy Goats in their last 18 meetings. Bayern have also only have 1 Bundesliga loss in their last 16 games. They've outscored their opponents 16-2 in their past 3. This should be a straightforward Bayern win. That will kick off this parlay. And we're going to tie it into one of the biggest games, probably the biggest game in Europe, and it's going down early a Saturday morning. It's Man City and Liverpool in the Premier League at the top of the table clash Saturday morning, with Manchester City being first with 28 points, hosting Liverpool, who are second with 27 points. Now, some luster could be taken off if Erling Haaland misses out with an ankle injury that he suffered with Norway during the international break. Keeper Ederson also might sit out. He was injured versus the Chelsea game and also missed time on international duty. When we last saw City, they drew 4-4 with Chelsea. Their only 2 losses in the EPL have come on the road, but they have conceded a goal in 5 of 6 in the EPL, and those goals have come against Chelsea, Bournemouth, Brighton, Arsenal, and Wolves, so not always even against some of the top teams. Scoring-wise, they've not failed, though, to score at the Etihad since a Champions League game versus Lisbon back in March of 2022. If we're only looking at the EPL and at home, they've not failed to score since October 30th, 2021. Liverpool's 27 goals are the 3rd most in the division. In all competitions, Liverpool haven't failed to score in 28 games. That includes a run of 13 straight road games where they have scored, but they've also conceded in 10 straight games away from Anfield, meaning both teams to score is 10-0 in recent Liverpool games and in their last 10 road games. That's how we are going to go here. Just go both teams to score between Man City and Liverpool, tied into a Bayern Munich win. I got that at -113 odds. Parlay number 2, it's going to be an all Bundesliga parlay. It's all on Saturday. It's Werder Bremen and Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen still haven't lost. They're 10-1-0. And they're probably a good bet to simply win this game versus 12th place Bremen if you were just simply looking for a straight bet. Leverkusen won 3-2, and the teams drew 1-1 last year when they played. Leverkusen are undefeated in their past 6 games versus Bremen and have only lost once in the past 12 meetings when these teams have met. However, Bremen are undefeated in 3, drawing 2-2, 2-2, and winning 2-0 in those games. Despite Bremen not being a top team, at home they scored in 16 of 18 games, only failing to do so versus Bayern and Dortmund in that time. So both teams to score could be in play here. Both teams to score on over 2.5 also could be possible single bets. Still in all competitions, though, if you look at Leverkusen, they're 16-1-0 this season, so it's just hard to bet against them right now. Over 2.5 is 11-0 for Leverkusen games this season if you're betting totals, and 8-3 for Bremen. If you're just looking for over 1.5, it's a perfect 11-0 for Leverkusen and 9-2 for Bremen. That is all I'm going to ask for here. 2 goals in the game, over 1.5 to kick off this parlay. Next up, it's Frankfurt and Stuttgart. Both teams are in great form here. Stuttgart are 8-0-3. They're 3rd. And while they've dropped 2 of 3, they did rebound with a 2-1 win over Dortmund in their last game. Frankfurt have collected the 3rd most points in the past 5 rounds. That's only behind Bayern Munich and Dortmund. And they're 7th. They're 4-6-1. And they've been playing about as good as anyone right now in the Bundesliga. Not only do they have just 1 loss in the Bundesliga, but in all competitions this season, they have just 2 losses. They're 10-7-2 this season in all competitions. And they're currently undefeated in 8 in all competitions, scoring in all 8 and scoring multiple goals in 7 of those 8 games. Now, if they were playing another team, I may not like both teams to score. Frankfurt, they've only allowed 11 goals in the Bundesliga, and they've kept clean sheets in 4 of their past 6 games, if you're counting the Pokal and the Conference League. But they're playing Stuttgart, and they have 29 goals on the season, which is the 3rd most in the Bundesliga, and they have the league's 2nd highest scorer in Girona with 15 goals. Stuttgart have scored in all but 1 game this season. They've also scored multiple goals in 10 of 11 games. I think we can see at least a goal from both sides here. Let's go both teams to score. And that alone came in around -120. If we want to bump it up just to get to around even money, which is what I'm going to do, I'm looking for something else easy looking to throw in there. I'm going Dortmund and Gladbach. I'm going to go over 1.5 here. It's the battle of the Borussias. This could be a good both teams to score game as well, or both teams scoring over 2.5. Last year, those bets would have hit both times these teams played. It was Dortmund winning at home 5-2 and Gladbach winning at home 4-2 last year. Dortmund have scored 21. They've allowed 17 in 11 games. Gladbach have scored 23 while also allowing 23. Now, I may have some concerns, though, around Dortmund. They're winless in 3 in the Bundesliga, and they have a big Champions League game coming up against Milan this week. Dortmund are first in Group F in the Champions League, and they do have a real chance to advance. There have been just one team has been held off the score sheet as well in Dortmund games in 5 of the last 7. So there's been a clean sheet in 5 of the last 7, and Dortmund themselves have kept 4 of those 5 clean sheets. But if we look at Gladbach after a slow start, they're 4-2-1 across all competitions of late. In those 7 games, both teams to score is 6-1. Over 2.5 is 7-0. Over 3.5 is also 6-1 and also 3-0 in their past 3. And they've scored 4, 3, and 3 goals in their past 3 games themselves. Now, like I said, this was around -120 before this game. If we just throw in over 1.5 between these two teams, we'll get that up to +101. Dortmund are the lowest rated team in the league to over 1.5 total, but they're still 8-3 in that regard. And over 1.5 for Gladbach is 10-1. We should see at least 2 goals here. So that will be Bremen and Bayer Leverkusen over 1.5, and as well as Dortmund and Gladbach over 1.5, and Frankfurt and Stuttgart, both teams to score. The third parlay going to come starting in the EPL, and it's Tottenham and Aston Villa. Tottenham being 4th, Aston Villa being 5th. Tottenham, they're the 7th highest scorers with 24 goals this season. Aston Villa are only 2nd to City in scoring this season with 29 goals, but 23 of those 29 have come at home. Aston Villa, they only have 6 road goals in their 6 away games so far, while they've conceded 12. Still, in any competition this season, Villa have scored in 17 of 19 games. Both teams scores 12-7. Over 1.5 is 17-2. For Tottenham, their hot start to start the season has cooled off a bit recently after losing their last 2 games 2-1 and 4-1. But because they did at least score in those goals, they've still scored in all 12 EPL games and also in all 13 games this season overall. Both teams to score bets are 9-4 in those 13, and over 1.5 bets would be 12-1. Now, I looked at over 1.5 as this looks like we should probably see at least 2 goals in this game, maybe both teams to score, but you could simply, just asking Tottenham to get 1 goal actually came in at a little bit better odds than over 1.5. So I'm going to kick this off with just asking Tottenham to score. And next, I'll go to the Bundesliga, and it's Hoffenheim and Mainz. Hoffenheim may be 6th in the Bundesliga, and they have scored the 5th most goals, 23 in the league. But they're actually quite poor at home. They're the 2nd worst home team at just 1-0-4, and they have scored just 8 of those 23 goals when playing at home. Home or away, though, Hoffenheim is winless in 3, but they've still scored in every single game in the Bundesliga this season. And despite that home form, they've scored a goal at home in 15 of 16 in all competitions if you go back into last season. For Mainz, they've drawn 0-0 and won 2-0 in their past 2 games. But outside of that road draw with Darmstadt, they've conceded a goal in every other road Bundesliga game this season. And not just conceded, they've conceded multiple goals. So I think despite Hoffenheim not being a great team at home, they do still have plenty of scoring threats. They should at least get 1 goal against this Mainz team that's been letting in goals on the road all season. So next, in the final leg of that parlay, will be Villarreal and Osasuna in La Liga. Now, neither of these teams are having necessarily great seasons. Osasuna are 4-2-7. They have 14 points. They're 12th. Villarreal are 3-3-7, 12 points. They're 14th. Osasuna is winless in 3, but those scores have been 1-1, 4-2, and 2-1. Villarreal, not counting the Copa del Rey, they have 1 win in 8, but those scores have been 3-1, 3-2, 3-2, 1-1, 2-1, and that's the scores in their past 5 games. So while neither are winning much, both are scoring and conceding over 1 goal per match. Generally, Villarreal games are averaging 3.2 goals per match. Osasuna's games are averaging 2.8 goals per match. Osasuna has seen 12 of their 13 games seeing 2 or more goals. Villarreal have seen 11 of their 13 games seeing 2 or more goals. Both are also giving up plenty of scoring chances too. Villarreal is 18th in XGA, while Osasuna are 14th in XGA. However, there's a big swing in shots on target stats allowed. Villarreal are allowing the most shots on target, 83, while Osasuna actually allow the least with just 42. Last year when these teams played, Villarreal won 3-0 and 2-0. So that now means there's been 2 or more goals between them in 13 of the last 14 meetings. So one way or another in this game, I think we can at least see 2 goals here. We'll go over 1.5. So this parlay will be Tottenham to score, Hoffenheim to score, and over 1.5 goals with Villarreal and Osasuna. Now I have one more, and it's going to go over Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And it's going to be as simple as just asking one team to get 1 goal on all 3 of these games. So hopefully we will be alive on Monday and just needing 1 more goal to conclude this. On Saturday, it's going to start with Frosinone and Genoa. These aren't teams I usually focus on, but just looking down some of the stats, I can see that Frosinone have been decent in Serie A. They're sitting 12th with 15 points. They've scored 17, and they've allowed 20 in 12 games to start off this Serie A campaign. They do own the 7th highest XG as well, which is pretty good for a smaller team. At home, they've been great. They own the 5th best home record right now at 4-1-1, and they've scored 12 goals in those 6 games. Frosinone lost 2-0 at Inter last game, but they have scored in 11 of 14 in all competitions this season. Now, if you just look at their home games, they've scored in all games this season and in any competition. If you go back into Serie B from last season, they've actually scored in 35 of their past 38 home games. Obviously, they've stepped up in class now to Serie A, but they're also not exactly playing a top team in Genoa right here. Genoa are right behind them, though, in the standings right now at 14th with 14 points. And while they've won 3 of 4 recent games, if you include the Coppa Italia, on the road, they're winless in 5 in Serie A. Those scores have been 2-1, 2-0, 2-2, 1-0, and 1-0. I think we can see Frosinone to at least get 1 goal here. They are a team that seems to like to attack and generally do get on the scoreboard. That will be the first leg, Frosinone to score. Going into Sunday, going over to Germany, Union Berlin and Augsburg. Now, if this was last year, you never want to go against Union Berlin at home when they were a very solid team. But it's not last year. And this year, Union Berlin, despite being in the Champions League after last year's success, they're last in the Bundesliga right now at 2-0-9, and they've been outscored 26-11. They also own the worst home record at 1-0-4, being outscored 12-4. Augsburg are only 10th. They're 3-4-4, but they're undefeated in 4 games, and they have 20 goals for in 10 games this season. While they've conceded in all 4 of their recent games, they've scored 10 goals in those 4 games. Union Berlin are 0-1-13 in their past 14 games in all competitions, so they're just getting routed right now. They conceded in every Bundesliga game and in 16 of 17 overall games this season. That 1 clean sheet where they did not concede was way back in the very first game, and it was in a cup competition way back in August. They also have Champions League coming up this week to contend with, so they very likely are looking ahead to that. I think we can get Augsburg, our big road underdog, just to win this game. You can maybe go Augsburg to win, draw a double chance, draw no bet. All I'm going to ask for is an Augsburg goal. And we'll round this one out going to Spain on Monday, and it's Girona and Athletic Bilbao. This is on Monday. It's 1st versus 5th here. And yes, Girona are still 1st in the Liga. They are 1st in both points, 34, and also still the highest scoring team in the league. That's better than Madrid. That's better than Barcelona, better than Atleti with 31 goals. It's 14 games this season, 13 in La Liga, 1 in the Copa del Rey. They've scored in 13 of 14, only failing to do so against Real Madrid, and they have multiple goals in 9 of 13 games when they have scored. Bilbao are having a good season. They have won 3 straight. If you count the Copa del Rey, those scores have been 4-3, 3-2, and 2-1. Prior to that, they drew 2-2 and lost 1-0. So while they're scoring, they're also definitely conceding, and they also give up the 7th most shots on target, which is bad news against the league's highest scoring team. Last year, Girona won 3-2 and 2-1, and in the only 6 all-time meetings between these teams, there's been 2 or more goals in each. I think we have to keep riding this Girona team until they prove otherwise. Let's just go Girona to score, Augsburg to score, and Frosinone to score. That actually comes in at plus 133. So that wraps up my picks for this weekend in the Premier League, in the Bundesliga, in Serie A, and La Liga. Let me know what your favorite picks are from either of these games or any other soccer leagues or games going on this weekend. And good luck with all of your picks this weekend.